How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a wonderful evening. Uh, no, baby, I am not jerking off. For those who don't know, Yulia in the chat is my fiance. Um, the reason someone's wondering, hey, why is he making us wait? A general rule of thumb with live streams is when you initially go live, there's literally nobody there. So you want to give like a 5 to 10 minute buffer for notifications to go out so people show up. And I don't want to say something and then have you guys not hear it. So the biggest thing that I'm going to start doing now when these streams go up after the fact is when they are live, I can go into the YouTube trimmer and I can trim out that intro. So the intro is still going to be there for a little bit, but then it'll get trimmed out. So I don't know, at some point tomorrow, the video won't have that intro anymore and it'll just start out like a regular video. Anyways, how's it going, everyone? I am Nathaniel Rebelljans from the Nintendo Prime. As always, we're doing a little bit something different tonight. A little bit something different. Good English, Nate. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. This is kind of a testing ground for a series I might be doing on weekends, especially when there's not a lot of news. And it's more so a series about life, a series about maybe some advice I have. Not that anyone should necessarily listen to my advice. I'm not a licensed therapist or whatever. I'm just doing this based on my own experiences. And if it relates to you, great. If it doesn't, oh well. And obviously this is a live stream, so it's going to be a bit longer than just the topic. There'll be a Q&A and all that jazz. First off, I guess I'll just say hi to everyone who's here so far. We have Seamlessly Sam, Sweet Life of Dio Brando, Flippin', Mark, Greenberg, Yulia, Seamlessly Smash Play, Sonic Forces 2017. Corey Bohm is here as well. Trucker, Josh Copeland, Ramen Man is here. Shinray01, blah 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 blah. I suck at advice, as my fiance says. Leroy Clark. Oh man. All right. There is nobody over on Twitch chatting right now, so if anyone pops on Twitch, hi. All right. The first advice from Nate: try your best not to wait 9 years to get married. I don't care how long you guys wait to get married. That's a completely individual, personalized thing. I don't think you should ever rush it, but if rushing it and it works for you, cool. Anyways, let's get into the topic, and it's about life and how it's not fair, and you should just do something about it. And here's the general gist of what I'm talking about. I think we all know that life isn't fair, right? It never is fair. But fair is obviously a perception we have in our head, a perception that we deserve the chances and the opportunities that other people have. As an example, some people have talked in the past about my channel and how it's not fair that Spawnwave and others have blown up while my channel has just kind of stayed where it's at. And I don't really look at it like that, because here's the thing. There are certain advantages people like him have that I don't, and that is okay. In life, you're going to be faced with, and that's just a minuscule thing, but in life, you're going to be faced with a lot of obstacles and a lot of looking at other people who have it better than you, that look like they're not working as hard as you. And this isn't me saying Spawnwave doesn't work hard. This is just me talking about life in general. That there's people I know in my personal life right now that I know do not work very hard and have way more than I do. Just in terms of finances, in terms of a lot of things, and they barely do anything. There are people I know that take advantage of government programs that get basically they're making more money than me by just living off the government. Crazy. And they do nothing. They're lazy. I thought I was lazy, but they are lazier than me. So you could sit here and look at life and always think about what you don't have. What are these other people doing that are making them basically be more successful than you in some way or have something? Eric always talks to me sometimes like, hey, you have kids and a life and someone who loves you, a partner. He always asks me, about how can he get that kind of thing, because he gets a little jealous about it at times, which I completely understand. Although I always tell him, don't be jealous of having kids, man. Kids is hard. But I can understand, when you've been living your life kind of on your own and all alone without a partner for as long as he has. I can understand where some jealousy could come in. But here's the thing. Life deals you the hand that it deals you, right? You are sometimes given an amazing hand and have everything handed to you. I think a lot of, give you an example, like Paris Hilton or any of the Kardashians, right? Like their life, not necessarily the father, but the daughter's lives were handed to them. They didn't get rich and famous necessarily on their own. They got rich and famous because of other people in their family that did things to make their name important. And oftentimes you can look at situations like that and just be like, well, that's your lot in life. They're going to be a celebrity. You're going to be this person struggling, working, a minimum wage job, trying to just get by. Here's the way I kind of look at things. If you think you have a disadvantage in life, if you think you are in a position where you're not being as successful at what you're doing as you want to be, I feel that way sometimes about my channel. I think that you should just do something about it. I'll give you a personal example. Obviously, my YouTube channel is not, financially and, viewership wise, always exactly where I want it to be, right? But instead of whining and complaining about it, right, and being like, oh, woe is me, right? I've been down that road. If I had been talking to myself 6 months ago, I don't know if I would have listened to this advice. Instead of like blaming others, look in the mirror and think, what can you do to make your life a little bit better today? This is tough advice to take because we are surrounded with social media with people that just have more than us. And it's easy to look down and get depressed about these things. There's obviously, another spin on it. You can look at it and appreciate the things you have in life. I appreciate my fiance. I appreciate my children. I appreciate this house, this camera, this audience I have. It's one thing to appreciate, but if you want things to be even better, you got to do a little bit of something every day. To give you an example, with my channel, I want the revenue to be more stable. So one thing I've been doing is looking into more sponsorships, and I've been trying to look into them a little bit every single day to try to figure out how, I could stabilize potential revenue at the channel to enable me to make more content that I want to make, because making content on this channel does make me a little bit happier than just not making it, right? If I just didn't do YouTube anymore, I'd feel like there's like a little small missing piece of me that helps de-stress me, helps me just share my passion for gaming with an audience of people that might care about that. Because obviously, my fiance isn't necessarily one that cares about video games that much. Eric, who does care about video games, doesn't care as much as he lets on. He's totally a nerd. Like he's into D&D and anime and a whole bunch of stuff, but he doesn't really play a ton of games. I think you guys kind of get that feeling through the podcast at times. And honestly, I just like having this outlet to kind of have that part of my life share with other people that also enjoy video games. And it also lets me compartmentalize and separate that life a little bit. As an example, Yulia can tell you, she's in the chat right now, I don't play video games in front of my kids or in front of my fiance hardly ever. It just doesn't happen. I kind of compartmentalize and separate that part of myself from other aspects of my life. And I do that because it makes me feel like I am doing other things with my life besides just playing video games. There was a time in my life before Yulia that I did play video games all the time. I played them in front of my girlfriends or fiancés or whatever was going on in my life. I played them in front of everyone, my parents. And I started to realize that my life was becoming about video games when video games are just something that I'm passionate about and something I enjoy. It's not who I am as a person. So I needed a way to compartmentalize that, and YouTube, in a large way, has helped me do that. Pretty much all my gaming stuff stays in this space. This office, this green screen back here, all my gaming stuff just kind of stays in here. And I play games in here. Doesn't mean I won't play games with my kids. It doesn't mean me and my fiance won't play a game together once in a blue moon. I think the last time we even played something together on Switch was like, Snipper Clips? Like, it's been a long time since her and I played a game together. So every now and then, we'll hook up the SNES Classic and play Donkey Kong with our son or something. But we don't play a lot of video games around there because our kids already play enough video games on their own. A lot of kids play video games without the need of their parent necessarily showing them the way. My children, the older two, both own Switches and have games for it, and they just do their own thing. And I'll play with them once in a while, but I don't want our relationship to be about games. I want our relationship to be about all of life. Like, my children are acutely aware that I play video games. My children are acutely aware that I really enjoy video games. They're acutely aware that I make videos about video games. But I want them to see that that's not the only thing about my life that matters, so then they too can add other aspects of enjoyment to their life. So when I talk about, trying to find a way to not care as much about being on the other side of that life isn't fair mantra, is do something about it. As I said, with my channel, I'm trying to do something about the finances with it that isn't reliant on me telling you guys, hey, go to Patreon, hey, donate and super chat. Like, yeah, those are obviously ways to deal with it, but those are ways of dealing with it where you're putting your own mess of what you want something to be on other people. Instead, I want to put it on myself. That's why I'm looking into more potential sponsorships that make sense with the content I make and make sense with the channel. Be it a little 30-second ad at the beginning, like you see some people do with World of Warships or something, or Dollar Shave Club. I'm trying to get a sponsorship from Dollar Shave Club too, because I actually use their products, so it's not one of those things where you see some people who like, oh, I have Dollar Shave Club, and they're clearly people who don't shave. Like, I actually do shave, and I love their products. So, hey, Dollar Shave Club, if you're watching this video, someone from there, hey, perfect sponsorship opportunity, because I literally use your products, or I did until I ran out. So, the point I'm making is that just because you were dealt a certain hand in life doesn't mean you need to accept that hand. Yes, you might have to accept that you're not going to have life easy, right? Some people are just going to have an easier time in life than you. Some people are going to be richer than you. Some people this, some people that. But I find enrichment in life through my children, through my fiance. Like today, she took the kids all day so I could go and just be, without children for a whole day and just do what I want to do. And that was refreshing to me. And that, to me, was almost more valuable than any money I've ever made. Just having somebody who cares enough about me to just do that. And I do the same thing for her sometimes too, if she just needs space, especially from the kids. That's just a shared parent responsibility. I firmly believe anyways. I just think that, as life kind of rolls forward, a lot of us look a lot of times at what other people have and get really upset and depressed about it. Because you can sit there and be like, well, I put 80 hours a week into my YouTube channel. I am making 20 videos a week. I am getting on top of all this news before everybody else. I'm putting, 60 hours of editing into these videos, and they're way more professional than everybody else. Why are all these other people more... Like, there's a lot of YouTubers smaller than me that I feel make higher quality and better videos than I do. And they're just not as successful at it. And the reason that they're not as successful at it is primarily in part because before I was ever a YouTuber, I actually worked at a different place, a different website. I worked as an editor-in-chief of a video game website, and I was able to funnel some of my fans from that place, some of the popularity I gained from that, into this channel to boost me. So I kind of had an advantage compared to some people who don't have that advantage. SpawnWave has an advantage where he does a lot of board level repairs of PlayStation 4s and a whole bunch of other video game systems that give him a unique knowledge of the internals of those platforms to create types of videos that only SpawnWave can really make. Yeah, I could go tear down a system, but I couldn't explain to you every little part in that system the way he can, because he actually does that or did do that in his previous career. So this is just something to keep in mind, that just because you don't have that benefit, that unique trait potentially of I have all this experience as editor-in-chief of a popular website, or SpawnWave has the experience of doing video game repair at a game shop. Find something about what you want in life and find a way to tackle it. I'm actually going to bring something up here that I think is really cool. There's this YouTuber, and he's really what inspired this today. Let me bring up his channel here. He does board level repairs for laptops, iPods, all this stuff. And I want to kind of give him a shout out here. He's much bigger than me, so some of you guys might have heard of him before if you actually pay any attention to tech and tech repairs, and especially Apple products. So he did this video right here. He said, "What are you going to do about it? Life is I just created." And in this video, he goes over how at one point he was being jealous of this person in his community, in his where he actually lived, who did board level repairs. But that person who did the board level repairs was getting all this media attention, but he screwed up repairing an iPhone 3. Right? He forgot to connect some cord, and he couldn't figure out why this thing wasn't working, and it was making him pull his hair out because he knew more about that product than that person did. But that person was getting all the customers, that person was getting all the repairs, and getting all the media attention. Well, he couldn't get any. So what he did is he took $20. He went to a Uniqlo store. They're not ones I have in my area, but I've seen them. He bought a blue Polo, and then he went into an Apple repair shop. And when he went into that Apple repair shop, he started walking up to people who were kind of waiting to be helped with the repairs for their Apple products. And he would ask them, what problem are you having with your product? And they would go through it, and then he would go through what he knows are the possible issues causing that problem. Like if the screen's not turning on, it could be a cable, it could be a bad transistor, it could be water spill, etc. And how much each of those types of repairs are going to cost. And then he would end it by saying, oh, by the way, I don't actually work here. I run my own repair service. Here's my card. You go see what Apple says, and if you're not satisfied, why don't you give me a call? And he did that over and over again for about a week, and he built up a customer base who didn't want to pay Apple's outrageous prices of $800, $900 to replace an entire board, to replace an entire screen, when that really isn't what needed to be done. It just might need to be cleaned. It might just need a new cable. But a lot of the Apple people at these Genius Bars don't necessarily know that in depth about their own products. They literally are taught to just part swap everything. There's a problem, part swap. And part swapping could end up costing the customer several thousands of dollars for a product they already paid several thousands of dollars for. That is where the Louis Rossmann and the Rossmann Group comes in and does these repairs. So he decided that instead of complaining about all the media attention this guy does, he's going to go to where his customers actually are and show them that there's a better way. And he built up a base, and now he's massively successful as not just a content creator on here on YouTube, but he actually runs a very successful Apple repair shop. He actually repairs PCs and stuff in general too, but he specializes in Apple products. So I bring that all up because that is someone who had no money, was having no success at what he's doing, was extremely knowledgeable about this stuff, but couldn't get attention, who was jealous of somebody else who had, a better lot in life than he did. And instead of sitting back and, getting depressed about it and whining about it, he said, look, I'm going to go do a little something each day. This little something being, hey, I'm going to go present myself like I'm a professional, and that I could, talk to these people in person. Obviously, what he did, there's a risk that Apple could just kick him out of the store, but that's all Apple can do is kick him out of the store. It's not like he can get arrested for just talking to people. So I guess you can argue solicitation, of course, like that's another thing, but it's not obviously something. It was just to get the ball rolling, right? Just get people thinking, and then once they get the repairs, they start word of mouthing and all that, whatever. But anyways, that's his story. You can go watch his video if you're interested in it. Just look up Rossman Group on YouTube. All right, so the biggest thing to take away from all of this, I feel, is that if you don't like where you are in life, and you feel other people have it easier than you and are more successful than you at it, just do a little something every day to try to improve your life to get to where you want to get. I try to think this way with my channel because honestly, I told you guys I want my channel to be my career. I would like to do this for a living, not just these streams, but also creating YouTube content. But to get there is a long road, and I need to start thinking like more like a business mind and not just a content creator. More like okay, what can make my channel sustainable that isn't just about gaining subscribers and gaining new viewership? Because that's at the forefront of it all, but that's obvious. What are all the additional layers that maybe other YouTubers aren't even taking advantage of? And yes, one of those layers is sponsorships. Another layer is doing more affiliate links. I just did a video yesterday about the microSD card sale on Amazon that was happening for the Prime Day deals. I have no idea how many of those things I sold, but I know they got a crap load of clicks yesterday. All those affiliate links. That was affiliate marketing, and that's something that a lot of channels aren't taking advantage of that are in my space. And it's something that doesn't involve you necessarily having to be paid by someone and to be a shill. It's, hey, look, these are really cool sales. Why don't you guys take advantage of them and doing more content like that, or finding more natural ways? If I do a preview of a game, as an example, if I do a preview of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 or whatever, like I did for E3, put a link in the description, mention that link in the video, that if you like what you see, go down below, hit the pre-order link, get that game pre-order, give me a little small kickback. It doesn't cost you any extra money. That's additional things I'm learning as I go about how to make my channel not only more sustainable, but also make more money than it's ever made before. I'm not where I want to be. I know there's much more I need to do, and I need to spend even more time doing it than I am now. But I am making those steps to try to make everything that I want out of my career anyways better. Now, in terms of general life, not being happy with your parents or your boyfriend girlfriend situation, that's obviously something you have to evaluate on the individual level. I can't really give you any advice in regards to that because I don't know your situation. But I'm just talking in this general sense of when you look at everyone and you start to get jealous of what others have, one, look at what you have and learn to appreciate what you have maybe, because you probably have more than you realize. That is something that I keep trying to tell myself every time. Like, I'll give you an example. Today is I was out at a casino today, and I could walk around that casino and be jealous. There was a person who on one of the slot machines I was playing, they won $10,000. I got off it, and within a half hour they won $10,000. And I could be upset and I could be jealous about that. And I did kind of facepalm and go, "Oh, I knew I shouldn't have got off that machine. I had a feeling it was going to hit, but I got off." Right? And it's extremely rare. Like, you don't know that $10,000 is going to hit. Like, that's so rare at a casino. Like, no one ever wins it, but it's so rare that you don't plan for that. And I can sit there and be jealous or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, you know what? They got a lucky roll of the dice to go in their life. That's great. I consider myself lucky. I consider the fact that I was coming home to 3 beautiful children to be my luck in life, even if they're stressful at times. I consider the fact that my sister, well, hopefully future sister-in-law, was here watching the children, and that I had a really nice conversation with her before she left to go deal with her life. And I felt fortunate and lucky in life that I have that. And that to me means more than any sort of money. Sure, it would be nice to have that $10,000 and have all that other stuff on top. But whatever, that's the luck of the dice. I can't get mad about that. What I should be mad about more is, am I doing what I should be doing in the moment that I'm doing it? Like when I'm working, am I actually maximizing the time available when I'm working to maximize my revenue and also maximize my happiness in creating the content I want to make? Or am I dilly-dallying and wasting time when I could be making better use of it? And that is something that I have to work on. I know there's a problem with that where maybe I'm wasting a bit more time on something that maybe I shouldn't be wasting my time on. As an example, getting in an argument with someone on Twitter or something like that. Like, should I really be wasting a half hour of my day doing that, or should I take that half hour, put it into research for my next video? Probably research into my next video, research into more sponsorships. So I'm by no means perfect. I make tons of mistakes, but I hope that people learn from my mistakes and learn from their own mistakes and just progress a little bit further in life. Get a little bit further in life tomorrow than you did today. And I guess that's kind of the message of all of this. So, yeah, and I'm going to make more mistakes in the future. I mean, that giveaway thing was a mistake. I'm going to make tons of mistakes, guys. Like, I made a mistake yesterday in a little fight between me and Yulia, right? Like, I started it. I picked the fight. I let out my stress in a really bad way. That's on me, and I know that. And I know it's something I need to improve on. Thankfully, it's not something that happens all the time. I grew up with a a parent figure that literally did that all the time, and I'm thankful I'm not like that. But it is in me, and it's something I need to find a better way to deal with. I need to find a way to be better today than I was yesterday. All right. So, what are you guys thinking? What do you guys have to say? I haven't read much of the chat. I see a bunch of people, chatting away. Let's see here. Who's excited for Luigi's Mansion 3? Says awesome. Dude, I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is going to be my game of the year. Lots of games still to come out, but man, what I played at E3, Luigi's Mansion 3 was fantastic. Let's see here. As Yulia said, James, work hard when it comes to academics. You won't regret it. The only thing you can regret are the things that you don't know. So if you have an opportunity to know things, if you have an opportunity for education, you are rarely going to regret actually having that education. Now, with college, you could maybe regret some of the financial repercussions of getting loans and everything for it. But education itself is invaluable. Gaining knowledge is important. So obviously, as Yulia said, she wishes that she would have focused a little bit more on her academics or cared more about her academics at the time instead of just passing the classes, actually wanting to do really well. I, too, wish that I could find a way to coax my mind into just getting through things in college that I just don't care about, like chemistry. I hate chemistry. I know I have the ability to do it. I just hate it, and I have this mental block because I just don't like chemistry. That's one of the things that's been blocking me from getting my degree. There's these things in life that we just need to emphasize a bit more and learn from people that have made mistakes. So you maybe don't make the same ones. If you want to go to college, you don't need to know what you're going to do, obviously, right away. It helps if you know what career you want to do. But at least get all your generals done. Get all your generals done, so then all you have left are just whatever specialties that you need for your particular class. And that way, you can figure out what you're going to do maybe later. Give yourself, a little more time by just taking generals, and then do it. And if you don't like it, you can just do what Eric did. Eric's got like 4 degrees. Seriously, I'm not even kidding. Eric has graduated 4 times. Because he keeps changing what he wants to do in life. So then he goes and does the classes. And now he wants to go back and get a 5th degree. So Eric, I think, is perpetually going to be learning for the rest of his life. I couldn't do that personally, but that's the way he is. Thank you, Ronald 200N, for the $2. $2 make you holler. I'll give you a little a little taste of some beer for that one. I don't know why I'm doing a shot of it, but that's what we do here. So cheers, a little cerveza. Look at the head on that. Look at that. Man, that's some tall head on a shot glass. Oh, and that shot glass is broken. Won't be using that one again. So let's see here. Good Pokemon video. Which video was that again? Hold on. I know I did a Pokemon video. It's been a little bit. I don't do individual game videos as often as I'd like, and that's another thing I want to change on my channel a bit. There's a bunch of changes. You mean is it the Pokemon Snap video? I'm trying to look back at the videos I've done. Is that the one you're talking about? I know you said something about it before. Can't remember if it was the Pokemon Snap video Or was it something about Sun and Moon? Or not Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield? The Sword and Shield rant. Okay. I'm trying to remember when I did that video. It feels like it's been forever. It's probably like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It probably wasn't that long ago. But yeah, no, I remember the rant. I can't remember which video it is. I'm like looking at my thumbnails. I'm like, it's not obvious in these thumbnails right now which one it was. Did I do it 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago? I don't know. Was it a month ago? About the Pokemon fans being mad or something? I don't know. I've ranted and raved about that game a few times, so mostly saying the same things. Let's see here. Yulia says, we all struggle in some areas and others are willing to help if we ask, at least from my experiences. Yeah. And I'll actually give you an example. So although it didn't stick, the last time I took a chemistry class in college, Yulia actually did try to help me do it. And she was a good help. Unfortunately, it didn't stick. So then I failed the class. So I'm going to have to take it again next time around. But it's like, okay, I think in life sometimes it's okay to ask for help. But as I always say, it's okay to ask for help, but don't always expect to receive it. That's something that I think is important to understand, that while it's okay to ask for help, you won't always get the help that you need. So sometimes you just need to figure out a new way on your own as well. Like for me, I've asked for help and actually did have a tutor for chemistry that wasn't Yulia, and it wasn't working for me. So I had to figure out a new method for me to take that chemistry class and understand. As an example, basically what I need is the class to not be so short. It's so condensed in college that I'm learning too many. Like, it's something like 12 new equations a day, and it's just too much. It needs to be spread out more. And I know there's a way to do it. It's just I need to find the right college that will take the time I need to do that class. Then I can go on to everything else. And it's weird, too, because I've written more complex algorithms in coding than any of these, things in chemistry, any of these equations in chemistry. But, oh, man. I struggle with chemistry. I struggled with it in high school, too. I had, like, this mental block with chemistry. And I'm really good at math, so I don't get it. It's just equations. But, God, I suck at it. Joel Putz. Thank you so much for your $5. It says, hi, Nate. Thanks for helping pass time before work at 3 a.m. Dude, you got a late night job, man. I got no problem passing your time, as long as I've got the time. And tonight, I've got the energy and the time. I got a little rum chata here for you, man. Thank you so much for that. All right. Just do your best. That's all anyone can ask for. Yep. Exactly. I will say this. Yulia is really great at giving advice. I think a lot of people are great at giving advice. We're not always great at following our own advice, though. I've given a lot of advice in my life that I know I haven't followed, but I know it's the right thing. Like, I know in my mind it's the right thing to say and the right thing to do, but then actually doing it's much harder than just giving the advice. But Yulia's great at giving advice. I've seen her give so many people advice. Whether or not they listen, I don't know. She's got a friend who she's been friends with since high school, who, if she would just listen to even like 1/10 of Yulia's advice, her life would be so much better than it is now, just in terms of where she is mentally and how she's dealing with her own children and stuff. But she just never listens. So, I don't know. Some people are stubborn too. I'm very stubborn. Very stubborn. Let's see here. I'll start my first year of college. I would say that it will help me be more social because I feel like I'm an introvert. It can help you. It definitely can help you be more social. Big thing is when you attend college, you can still kind of end up being a loner. Try to force yourself to be in more social situations. Force yourself to be in some study groups for certain classes. Force yourself to actually hang out with other college students. And that kind of stuff. That'll help you be more social. I mean, for me, what helped me was drinking, but I'll never tell someone like, hey, go drink to become more social, because it's also a very dangerous road to go down as well if you don't control it. Thankfully, alcohol's never been a problem for me, and I've been able to control it up to this point in my life. But for others, it's not. My dad, as an example, couldn't control it. So I will never tell anyone to do that to become more social, but it definitely helped me. So yeah, everyone's got to find like their own way if they want to. If they want something to kind of attain it. But as I say, always just hang out with people. You're not going to become more social by not actually being social. Get out there and do something you enjoy. Don't be a follower. All right. You guys got anything else you want to talk about, or any questions or stories you want to share or anything? Y2 Wrestling says, I make wrestling videos here on YouTube. Couldn't guess that from your name. I have aspirations to be in the wrestling industry. I love wrestling, and my goal is to find a living in that industry. Yeah. It's a hard industry to break into, but that's true of a lot of career choices. Making videos is a nice start. Obviously, one thing I could tell you is try to find out if there's any local wrestling leagues going on. Like you're talking about like the entertainment type of wrestling, right? Like, like the WWE kind of thing. You're not talking about actual wrestling, like the Olympics and stuff like that, right? Because there is a difference. There's the wrestling industry, which is built on entertainment, and then there's, actual wrestling. Because what you see in the WWE, folks, sorry to tell you, that's not actually what real wrestling is. WWE, anyways, it's entertainment. It's wrestling for entertainment. Okay, yeah, so WWE. So find like a place in your local area and try to get involved. There's a lot of local wrestling groups like that wrestle for entertainment. They'll do it at bars. They'll do it at really small shows. That's a great way to get some experience and kind of get in on it. Just kind of look up, any really small local stuff. It's not going to be as good as the WWE. Of course it's not. That's why it's small and local. But it gets your foot in the door, and you just do more stuff like that and get that experience. And that's how you get connections, and that's how you end up, moving on into a brighter future with that. Whether it's, well, no matter what you want to do, whether you want to be a manager in the industry, whether you want to run events, whether you want to be a wrestler, blah, blah, blah. You always got to start small. And I just know that because there's even places in my area, like local groups that do that stuff, that if you contact them and say, hey, I'd like to help you out in any way possible, I'll volunteer my time. They'll always be willing to find a position for someone who's willing to volunteer their time and just get some experience. Ronald 200 says, oh yeah, do you have any tips for coding, Prime? Because I passed my AP computer science exam, but I feel like I know nothing about coding. Plus AP computer science is my first ever coding class. Coding is basically like learning an actual language, like French, Spanish, whatever, Russian. That's all it is. It's a language. And once you know how to communicate in that language, you will be able to do more and more complex communications, which is all you're doing. The point of programming is to basically create an algorithm that's telling something to do something else, is what's happening, or does something based on the input of somebody else. So it's a lot like talking with people. We react to what they're doing. We create, systems and polls and all these things to kind of, engage with others. And that's what programming language is. You're engaging with others, but your language, instead of other people reading your language, they're reading the outputs of that language. So the biggest thing about coding to me is just be open-minded about it, because it's really not as difficult as some people think it is. You mentioned some CSS. CSS is an HTML based thing. That's from more like websites and stuff like that. I know a lot of CSS. I'm completely self-taught in CSS, HTML, PHP. I know a whole bunch of that stuff because I was completely self-taught and ran my own websites for many, many years, like 2 decades worth of knowledge on that stuff. But as you get into more advanced programming, like you're going to find out that CSS, HTML, all that, when you talk to someone who knows real, like I don't want to say real languages, but more complex languages like C++ or C#, VB, which Visual Basic's not even one that's used very often, although you'll use the Visual Basic editor to write in other languages. It's really weird. Anyways, you'll find out that CSS and everything is like really basic in comparison to other languages. So I'm trying to like think of a language example. Like think of CSS like I'm trying to think of an actual language comparison. Like I don't know if they're of a very simplistic language. I don't know. Think of CSS and HTML like writing or like drawing pictures on a cave as a caveman to represent what you're to tell a story, right? Like that's your way of communication. You're drawing a picture of people throwing things at you. Like that's what CSS and HTML is compared to actual voice communication. So yes, it is very simplistic, and I'm not going to say you know nothing, but if you understand CSS and HTML, you have a basic understanding of the way programs work. A lot of programs are basically about do this thing and if else do something else. That's what a lot of programs are. It's just a whole bunch of loops, a bunch of loops, a bunch of decision loops everywhere. But yeah, honey, I think you knew about C++ because I have talked about it, as have other people that program have talked about C++. A lot of logic, yeah. It's very logic based. Generally, if you like math, you could be really good at programming. But yeah, it's very logical. If you have a logical type of brain, if your brain is automatically going to the next logical steps, that's how programming works. It's all logic based, which is how my brain works, which sometimes frustrates Yulia because I'll think of things logically. She might think of things a bit more emotionally at times, and then it kind of clashes because I don't get what she's doing because it doesn't make sense to my logic brain, and then she doesn't get what I'm doing because it doesn't make sense to her emotional brain. She could be logical as well. That's how I can actually get through to her with something sometimes. Because Yulia actually has a lot of logic in her brain once you get past some of the emotions. But that's a whole other personal thing to get into that, The point is that we all have a little bit of logic in our brain. It's all about how we access it to be a programmer. Yulia says, hey, honey, do you remember when people used to use codes for MySpaces to change the font colors and backgrounds? That's considered coding, right? Yes, that's considered very basic coding. But yeah, that's a type of code. I can't remember what the code they used. I don't know if it was basic HTML or what. To give you a very basic example, here is here I'll bring up a little thing here. I want a new document. All right. To give you an example, honey, this is a basic code that you'll understand. Like this. That's technically coding. It's very basic, but all that means is bold. So any words you type in between there would be bold. So that's the kind of stuff they used to be able to do on MySpace and stuff like that. Like this is like the bare basic of basic coding. Like it's like, it doesn't get any easier than that. I for italics. Actually, I think it's a different thing in HTML now for italics. They changed it over time. But yeah, that is a type of coding. Very basic, but hey, everyone's got to start somewhere. And I always said, Yulia, that I think you are smarter and have more logic in your brain than you give yourself credit for. And I think you could probably do programming if you really wanted to do it. Usually, I think for you, honey, the problem is the motivation to want to do it, and then once you do it, completing it, because it can be hard. Even when you really want to do programming, like it can be really hard sometimes. And I would know. I've had some of the classes. It can be hard. It's not always a cakewalk. Louis Rossman, yeah, what's up with him? He's a good dude. Let's see here. Ultimate Key Message, I did C++ in high school. Yeah, dude, they don't do it. When I was in high school, there was no programming classes. You guys get to learn so much more about computer programming in high school now compared to when I was a kid. We had typing classes. That was like our computer classes, learn how to type properly. We had nothing about actual coding. They didn't even teach you HTML or CSS. They literally never touched coding. Yeah, he uploaded a video with the same title. Yep, I mentioned him earlier, Carlo Lee. Well, not the exact same title, but Similar topic. Yeah, he uploaded a video earlier, and I already mentioned him and said this video was inspired by him, and I showed his video off. Like, we didn't watch his video, but I showed his video and told people to go subscribe and go check him out. I brought up his little story when we were talking about that kind of stuff. Programming is so hard, you have to make it part of your life, a big part. I'd argue that's like anything in life. Any career you're doing, to be good at it, you have to make it a big part of your life. Like, I can't sit here and pretend that YouTube is this tiny little thing that I barely think about. Like, no, it's not. I think about it a lot. I do a lot of work in regards to it. You have to make it a big part of your life to be successful at it. That's the way it is with every career. Even when, like, you're just a fry cook at McDonald's, guess what? You still got to spend a lot of time being that fry cook. Yeah? It might not be getting you far in life, but it pays the bills. You know, like, it's just a way of thinking about things and a mindset that it's not just programming. Anything that you want to be successful at in life is going to require you making it a big chunk of your life. I don't think programming is any different than being a nurse or a doctor or being a firefighter or whatever. Like, anything you're doing, you got to make it a big part of your life to be successful. Cody Shadley, I love programming, but it's frustrating. Yeah, it can be frustrating. But again, so can a lot of other jobs. But yeah, programming can be very frustrating sometimes. I think the worst part about programming is when you're working on somebody else's code and then you're trying to troubleshoot that code and you're trying to figure out the logic of their code and it works in a completely different way that makes you feel like that person's an idiot. Because why would you do it this way? Why not this way? Oh my God. But I'm sure that person would think the same thing about my code. You know? Because we all have different logic and do things differently. Programming can be super boring. Yep, it can be. There can be a lot of monotonous stuff with, especially if you're one of those guys that just works in a cubicle, working all day on email migration or whatever programs you're working on. Like, it can be very boring and very repetitive. That is definitely true. It can also be very rewarding and very exciting, but a lot of times when you're doing a desk job, it's very repetitive. And sometimes you end up doing just IT work instead of programming because the issue isn't the program, it's the person. That happens too. Oh, people don't use comment. Yeah, dude. People are terrible about commenting. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm great at it. Oh, I got to get some glass cleaner here. My glasses are getting all fudged up. But yeah, programming. Yeah. See, the thing is, with commenting, when it's just your own work, you personally might not need comments because you understand it and know everything. But when you're sharing your work with others, they don't always know. And not having comments about things sucks. Unfortunately, it hasn't made me any better at commenting things. Thankfully, I don't program for a living, so it's not a problem. But if I ever do get my degree and then go off and do that for a living, I got to keep telling myself, comment. Other programmers will thank you for commenting. Comment all the time. Yeah, it adds time to your work, but don't care. Just comment. Heck, it can help you sometimes. Because sometimes you'll forget. Like, if you're looking at code you did 5 years ago, you might forget. Like, why did I code it this way? Because now, like, you're better at coding or you do it differently. Leave a comment, even for yourself. Helps. I was going through some old assignments I did, and I'm like, God, why didn't I comment this stuff? No wonder I got points taken off for not commenting. Like, I would not program it this way today, but comment, and it might make sense why I did things a certain way. Did you hear that somebody attacked Animal Crossing saying it promotes sexual violence? I did not hear about that. That is news to me. Michael Sanders says, I'm getting coding experience now with PHP, but I should be doing but should I do a coding boot camp or go back to school? I mean, if you want to be a programmer, you're going to need to get a degree for the most part. The days of not having a degree and becoming a programmer are kind of in the past because there's so many people now going through the programming degree classes that it's easy for them to pick out people that they know guaranteed have specific sets of knowledge about certain languages for those jobs. So yeah, I do freelance work and do this and that, but dude, you got to go get your education. Code camps you should be doing in addition to your education. I've been to a few code camps. They're invaluable. You can make connections. Connections are very important sometimes especially when you're looking for work. Yeah, like code camps are great. I think code camps are almost great for the connections more so than anything else you get out of it. But you can also learn a lot about the industry. You can learn a lot about certain languages, so about certain things you might be learning about. As an example, if you're learning how to make applications on phones, there'll be code camps that will be dedicated to that, and you'll learn some really cool stuff about the technology that gives you maybe even like an entire leg up on everyone else in your class and can actually help you get a job. Because a lot of the code camps are actually focused on what you're doing in the real world, not just what you're doing in the classroom. Let's see here. I would suggest if you don't want to strictly start with a full-on coding language, I suggest some maker games. Yeah, like Mario Maker. Mario Maker gives you logic. Mario Maker, if you want to get really good at making levels, gives you logic. RPG Maker is a little bit more in depth than that. But yeah, I mean, obviously you can learn like HTML, like HTML and CSS. Like you can teach that to yourself over a weekend, if I'm being completely honest. But that's like a totally different type of programming. It's logic based, but it's very simplistic logic. At least in my opinion. I don't know. Back then, when I was learning it, I thought it was hard, but then I realized as I started learning other languages that it's really not that hard. Hard sometimes to do it within what the official spec is, though. There's trying to get your code to validate in HTML can be difficult sometimes because you're dealing with multiple browsers, and having your code validate doesn't mean it works in all those browsers, and sometimes having invalid code makes it work in all the browsers. That's why pretty much zero websites on the whole of the internet actually validate. Like they'll make a big deal about it in school that, oh, your code has to validate. Nobody's code validates, but it runs on every single browser. So this should run on every single browser. I remember I used to be so proud about my code validating, and it's like, it doesn't matter if it validates, it matters if it runs. Oh yeah, it validates, but then it doesn't work in Internet Explorer back then or something. Like, well, why does it matter? Well, because to make it run Internet Explorer, then it doesn't validate. Well, okay. I remember that. Let's see here. It only just now occurred to me that your gaming chair makes half of it blend in with the background with the green screen. Yep. So I'll say, wow, it's awesome that your chair works with that Zelda image. Wait a second. Wee. Yup. Welcome to having a green chair. Someday it'll probably be a blue chair. We need to get sponsored sometime by a chair company and have like a Nintendo Prime logo here. That'd be really cool. I've seen some channels that have that. We're not big enough to even be considered for that kind of thing, but it's kind of cool. I got to get a new chair anyways. This chair, I know it's been 2 years, but this chair is finally starting to break down a little bit. It's because I'm overweight. Let's just be honest. I weigh more than this chair. This chair is only graded for 200 pounds, and I weigh more than that. So it's just been breaking down over time. There is like a more heavy duty version of this one that's meant for someone like my weight, but my parents didn't buy that one, even though that was the one I put on my Christmas list. Just because even if I lost weight, I still want like the most durable chair, because you're spending $400+ on a chair, you want like the most durable one. In my opinion, anyways, if you're going to spend that kind of money on an office chair. You want comfort and durability. I mean, this one's really comfortable. And it's, considering the paces I put it through, I'm surprised it hasn't broke yet. Look, as I get close to the green screen and block the light, it turns black. Let's see here. W3 Schools has validator tool for HTML, CSS, and a ton of info if you want to teach yourself. Yep, W3C. I don't remember, man. W3, let me see. It's been a long time. W3C. Yeah, W3C. Oh, is it just W3.org now? It's still W3C, but it's W3.org. Or is it? Yes, it is. W3.org. Man, that website's changed a lot. But yeah, like learning how to validate your code is important. Like as you get better at programming, you'll realize, sometimes it's okay if your code's not valid. But first, you need to know how to make valid code before you worry about manipulating code in a way it's not intended to be, to do things that work that would not validate. I wouldn't worry about non-valid code until you honestly know a lot about code. Because the big thing about like HTML and CSS validation is you want to make sure you know how to code properly the way the language is meant to be used before you start learning techniques that are improper. Because what happens is if you never learn how to validate your code, it means you never know how to code properly, which means you could be making extremely sloppy code that is actually bogging people's browsers down and other things. Or in the case of Chrome or Firefox, causing memory leaks. You don't want that. You don't want to be the cause of that. But again, it's all experience. For my college code, your best project was emulating a Mega Man Battle Network screen in high school. Although all the menus weren't moving parts, just text additions to certain boxes. Yeah, you went super basic with it. Yeah, you did it for fun. Nice. Started college as a computer engineer. Had zero coding experience. I was so lost after the first week. I spoke to the TA, and he said I had to struggle with learning the language while taking class, or change majors. I changed my major to accounting right there. Yeah, I'm really good at accounting. I know some people think I'm terrible at finances. I'm great at accounting. Absolutely, I've taken like 4 accounting classes. It's super boring, but I'm really good at it. I can't do it. I'm too bored. I literally fall asleep while doing all the numbers. It's like, oh my god. Like, coding can be boring. I think accounting's even more boring. But hey, my aunt's an accountant and she enjoys it, so maybe you enjoy it too. I'm teaching myself now. I'm just afraid later if anyone would ever give me a chance with only a medieval degree. Yeah, that's the thing. I think here's the thing. It's super easy. If you have all your generals done, you have like a year at a tech school, and you will have your computer science degree or whichever programming degree you're going for. Like it's not. If you already have a degree, that's why Eric's considering getting his 5th degree, because like he doesn't have to take that many more classes to get another degree. Because all the other classes, all the prerequisites, like all the generals, those are all done. So and you have the degrees to prove it. School is way different in Australia. I bet. How long have we streamed for? About an hour? I feel like that's probably a good time to cut off. It's about 11 p.m. my time. But I want to catch a show. I'm sure Yulia, the reason that she left is she's on her way home. So. Alright, because she was hanging out with some family. The crappy thing about Con is the same thing. Yeah, it's very boring. But then, like, it's so boring, but you need to pay close attention because, like, one typo, one mistake, like, screws up everything. And then you could sometimes spend days or weeks trying to figure out where the mistake is. It sucks. So, like, and it happens not because you can't do the work, but because you're bored and it gets old. And then you make a mistake and you're like, no. Happens in coding too. Like, you could spend weeks sifting through your code to find the one typo or the one mistake you made somewhere. Thankfully, when code breaks, there's good ways to find. There's good tools to find where the mistakes are, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes you're spending a long time going through code. Just take life one day at a time. Probably the best way to do it. I tackle life as it comes. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. I got to actually go get in the shower, I just realized. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry I didn't have a video up today. Should at least have one, maybe 2 videos up tomorrow. Back at it, back on the grindstone. Getting back into the regular schedule on YouTube. It's been a bit erratic the last few weeks, I know. I'm sorry about that. I'm acutely aware of it. I know what's been causing it. It's all personal stuff. That's really none of your guys' business. We'll get back into this regular schedule. I'm hoping starting tomorrow. I don't really want to make any promises, but I will promise there will be at least a video tomorrow. I got so many videos in there. It's almost overwhelming how many videos I have to do. But instead of making a video tonight, I did this because I felt like this was an important topic, and I wanted to test this out as a potential weekend content segment. In the future, it wouldn't be a live stream. It would just be a standalone, 15-minute video or something. All right, guys. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Thank you, Joel Putz, for your $5 super chat, and Ronald 200 in for the $2 one earlier. I appreciate it. And also, for some reason, yesterday, we had a new subscriber over on Twitch, so I might as well shout him out, even though I didn't stream yesterday. Grod the Hippie. Thank you for subscribing on Twitch. That's awesome. All right. Catch you guys later.